Alright guys, we need to talk about some stuff that's actually good as opposed to me just ranting about all the stuff that sucks all the time. I understand you guys like it, you guys like to see how I fly off the handle and the different things that I say to many things that you tend to agree with, but let's talk about some new music that's come out that may actually be good. Let's talk about the Metal EP, which is just released by Newsted, which is, of course, the new project that is heralded and headlined by Jason Newsted, formerly of Metallica. Flotsam and Jetsam Voivod was in Ozzy's touring band, also did Echo Brain, etc., etc. There's, of course, a couple of things that I have left out, but Newsted has been busy. He's definitely gotten himself around and out there throughout the years, and I definitely feel like Flotsam and Jetsam kind of suffered a little bit whenever he left, even though I still maintain that that band is classic regardless. With the Metal EP, we're kind of going a little bit differently from where he was before whenever he did a solo project, which was Echo Brain. There may have been one in between there. If there was, please tell me. I just am forgetting it. It's been a long time since I've even listened to Echo Brain. I do own it somewhere in this mess that I call a collection. This is something that's supposed to be a little bit more geared toward the traditional metal construct, and whenever I listen to it, I definitely get that idea. I definitely lean towards, vocally, some bands such as Clutch or Corrosion of Conformity because of the gruff style of vocals. It definitely has a little bit more of a feel of maybe sometimes some stoner metal in there, transfixed with something that you would consider to be like a thrash structure as far as the bass is concerned. The guitar kind of just wheedles along with it. So in reality, if we were to determine exactly what we would call this release, let's just go with the nice flat blanket term of good old-fashioned heavy metal. This is heavy metal. This is something that you would hear in the 70s or 80s from a band that is just sticking to what heavy metal was all about whenever it was first conceived, not really lingering toward one direction or the other, not toward the new wave of British heavy metal, not toward black metal or death metal. That old-fashioned, just barely not hard rock, and definitely more hard rock to be metal. So whenever we go through this album, there's a couple of things that I notice, and I call it an album. It's actually an EP. It's 4 tracks, 22 minutes in length, actually a couple of seconds over that, and I get a lot of positive and negative feelings from this. I do like the flow of this record. The flow definitely is able to maintain itself throughout the 22 minutes here. You don't feel, and whenever I say flow, I know I was just starting another thought, but whenever I say flow, it goes with that idea that the time that has passed either doesn't feel like that amount of time or feels like it's more time than what it really is. That's how flow really makes an album or breaks an album. If you have an album that has poor flow, then in 22 minutes in this case would feel more like 30 or 35. You're struggling to get through it. However, if 22 minutes feels like 12 minutes, then you have an album with superior flow, one that definitely is flowing very, very articulately. This is one that definitely does so, and if I were to do some sort of mathematical, magical equation, I'd say that it feels like it's around 18 minutes in length as opposed to 22. It doesn't have that long-winded feel to it. I definitely like what this three-piece is able to do musically. However, I feel that there's a problem with expansion. There's a lot of ideas on this record that definitely have that classic setup that you heard with Newsted whenever he was in Metallica, whenever they were writing music. In fact, I hear some of the Metallica songwriting staples within this record, and we're talking like Load and Reload era, you know, from the 1990s. They definitely, the construction of some of these songs build up to a certain point and then start to repeat a little bit, giving the opportunity for the song to go in many different directions. You're not quite sure as a listener going in where exactly the transition is going to go, where it's going to come from, and in what direction you are going to be taken based around what the transition does. However, I feel on this record that sometimes it just doesn't feel like it goes anywhere, or it doesn't go far enough. Almost as though you are kind of just walking on down a road and you see 3 different spots, 3 different paths that you can take. And all 3 of the paths tend to just take you to the same place. They don't exactly, you know, there's no deviation or difference. Each seems to have the same degree of difficulty as far as getting there, or the same amount of reward for getting there. This album's flow kind of destroys itself with Skyscraper. That's the reason why it seems a little bit closer toward the actual time length as opposed to the 12-minute example I gave. Skyscraper kind of lingers on for 3 minutes, the latter 3 minutes of this of this song, and it feels a lot like somebody who is about to walk out a door but continues to turn around because they have something else that they forgot to say to you. It just kind of lingers on with a similar and same idea. The outro of the song reminds me of, you know, what they did with songs like the Outlaw Torn, Metallica, that is, whenever Newsted was a part of that band, where it just kind of faded and faded and faded and faded, and then finally the song was over. Overall, though, this album is not terrible. It's definitely not bad. This is only their first crop of songs, so they're still probably getting the gist of playing together and writing together as a threesome, and it's something where perhaps the second batch of songs, which is already being manufactured and produced, already being written, you know, they're already working on them, so we may have another Newsted release to talk about later on this year. Maybe that's where we're going to see a little bit more of an outpouring. This is more of just a general, hey, how you doing? We're Newsted, and we're here to fuck your life up. And really, it just doesn't quite deliver like the words say and sound like they would. So overall, not a terrible record, not a terrible EP, not exactly the best. I would give it probably a 7 out of 10, and I look forward, though, to hearing more stuff from these guys as they continue to produce more, because I think that they have a lot of positive aspects to them, where if they're able to dig kind of a little bit deeper and kind of extract those roots, so to speak, they will be able to produce some pretty awesome stuff that we should enjoy in the future. But for now, give it a shot. This is something that was originally not available in a physical copy. It's not something that you can get at FYE. But as of January the 15th, they are orderable, I'm assuming, through Jason Newsted's website. So if you want this, if you listen to it and you like it, I highly recommend picking this up. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good one.